Great.
Yeah.
Vipin, good morning and thank you for talking to Insight Research. Uh, I'll just
Thank you
give
for inviting.
I'll just give you a brief introduction of what we do. So we are
Mhm.
a 33-year-old outfit focused on market research in very specific niches in the telecommunications domain. So presently we are focused on the application of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning in the area of mobility, so radio access networks or core networks in 5G and 6G. Last month, we brought out a report detailing the total addressable market for artificial intelligence applications in the radio access network. So that is what we do. We are based out of Bangalore. We originated in the US, but presently we are in Bangalore, in India.
Sure. Thanks. First of all, for inviting me. And my name is Vipin Rathi, and so I'm working as assistant professor in University of Delhi, and there's a college, Ramanujan College, and also I'm a chairperson in Hyperledger. In Linux Foundation. Regarding blockchain. There's an umbrella project called Hyperledger. And there's a special interest group in this Hyperledger, and I'm a chair for Hyperledger Telecom Special Interest Group.
Great.
And also I'm a part of OpenInfra Foundation, which is responsible for OpenStack things. So I was board of directors and I think co-chair last year. And currently I'm in the board of directors for OpenInfra Asia.
Okay.
So I'm engaged in communities from last 11 years. So in Delhi, we organized PyCon India, and then different conferences based on blockchain.con.io, which is fintech and stuff. So and some local communities on Hyperledger, on Edge, on different technologies, frankly speaking, related to programming languages, related to computer science. So. And I think related to other things, if I may say, so communities part we started also in 5G related to telecom. So there is a project called Magma, right? So Magma is from initially from Linux Foundation, which is called Magma Core Foundation. And as a institute, we are also associate member in a lot of foundations. For example, Linux Foundation Networking, Linux Foundation Edge, and OpenInfra Foundation, Open Air Interface Alliance. So we are very well aligned with these telco foundations and communities. And this, I think, when this Magma Core Foundation started by Linux Foundation, but now it's LFC, which is Linux Foundation Connectivity. Actually, this is started by, I think, Meta. And then we joined this as how we can do more on the core, especially 5G cores. So, and then we started Magma India, and we released a lot of things, open source things, that how you can set up your own lab. If you don't have a similar, let's say SDRs, which is very tough to get in India. So. So how you can check through simulators and things. So this is how we started, and we released some documentation that how you can understand the whole code in 5G core things. But then soon we realized that working with simulator will not help much, right? Because then you are not able to connect UE and a lot of things. And somehow we get SDRs as well.
And by SDR, you mean software-defined radios, or?
That's true. That's true.
Okay.
And this is from ETAS, right? So most of the time you will get ETAS, or some Chinese vendors also provide. So we got some Chinese as well to test started with. So because it's cheap, first of all, and you can get easily. But then we realized that it will not help, right? Because first of all, it's China things, and second problem is it's not reliable. So once you start these SDRs from China, although it's cheap, but it will not work well. So then we realized that ETAS is the main body who run this whole SDR show. So then we realized that let's buy these things, but a little bit costly compared to Chinese things. But then we realized, okay, once we run with the SDR things with the 5G core, then it's better. It's understanding. You will develop a good understanding, and you can teach better with these SDRs. So then we bought like three SDRs, which are like X410 and 310 and B210. These are the three SDRs mainly. And from NI. NI is also partner of ITA, so that's why through NI we got this. And then we also got some commercial radios, which is again important. But this is important once you have a good L1, right? So if you have a good L1, let's say for FlexRAN or something, then you can put these radios in the production. So SDR is good for the research parts to understand how 5G core works, or for research part, this is good. But you need commercial radio for better understanding of how commercial things work. So then we got Bentel and Lighton and other radios as well, commercial radios, and then we tested in a lot of things. Started with open source course initially in 2022, something like this. And then we started a community called NG Core. In this NG Core, we came up with that how you can connect your SDRs directly to this course, and then you can understand better. And then also release some commercial things as well, how you can run commercial radios over different open source 5G core networks, which is like say free 5GC or open air interface or SD core, a lot, right? Open 5Gs. There are a lot of open source 5G cores available. And that's what NG Core I think we worked for 2 years, and we released a lot of documentation how you can add eBPF so that your security can be enhanced, or kernel bypass, how you can work with all these things. Because that's what we need in 6G as well, right? So with 5G, we also put our research on 5G advanced, and also to 6G, how we can scale things, how we can make our 5G core more cloud native. Kind of thing. So this is how we started. Like it's a journey. So it took us like we are researching on this 5G domains from last, I think 2017, mid 2017, 18 we started something there. And now we are very much mature that means we can play around with these radios very well, right? Means we can connect, we can set up a 5G lab in 10-20 minutes, because we have so much scripts, so much of automation happens in these 5-6 years. And now we very much mature on setting up labs or with the play around with the commercial radios with different L1 vendors. It can be FlexRAN, it can be NVIDIA stuff, so aerial and other things, right? And also we got some support from industry as well, academia as well, and communities as well. So our industry partner was NetWeb. They provide us a servers. So that because you to run this kind of FlexRAN or something, you require specific hardwares. For example, you need accelerators, you need third generation processors from Intel, and because this x86 architecture, and now we are also moving to Sapphire Rapids. So we are very well connected with three of things: academia as well as communities as well as industry as well. For L1, L2, L3, we have different partners through which we test and try to run different radios so that we can learn and give back to the community as well.
Okay, great. That's very heartening to know that you are getting traction from the industry as well as the academia. Yeah. My specific interest in talking to you today was to understand the role that blockchain is playing in the telecommunications domain. So what we understand, from a cursory view, is that the blockchain is associated more with the information security aspect and authentication aspect. So, I mean, prima facie, it would appear that its role is restricted more to the BSS part of things. BSS, or maybe some level of OSS part of things.
Some level of OSS as well.
Yeah. But what I'm specifically interested in is to go a little layer deeper than that, and try and understand at what level does blockchain or Hyperledger intersect the core mobility function. So by core, I mean the switching core as well as the radio access function. I'd like you to share some your insights on this.
Yeah, so this is a very interesting question because I think in 2019 we started this group under Hyperledger.
Okay.
And because I proposed this in there's a concept called ONAP Academic Summit in New York.
Okay.
So I was there, and then we were discussing how we can do a lot of things in telco and blockchain. So I thought that we should start a group in in Linux Foundation so that people can come together and can discuss things and can discuss, at least telco should come up and they should give us some use case to the blockchain community that can you solve these problems. And this is how we started in 2019. And if you understand, so in 2018 also I wrote a paper on a patent on this. Means I started, it took us like 5 years or 6 years published in India. But that paper, that patent says blockchain defined a multi-domain orchestrator. So multi-domain orchestrator is a thing that I think in future you will see more. Once you open up RAN, which is like through ORAN, you can open a network, right, to a different vendors, right?
Right.
Once different vendors come into the picture, then the problem is trust, right? So
yes.
So that is the multi-domain orchestrator, or you can say neutral host, or this kind of technology you will see more and more once you will see adoption of Open RAN. So we started like this, and so for example, let's take this example that how blockchain can help. So once you have a different vendors, right? For example, generally you have L1 from one vendor and L2, L3 from one vendor. Right? So just take the example L1 as a FlexRail, and L2, L3. Let's take the example of Capgemini or let's say Redis, right? So this is like two vendors, two different vendors. But once you, and radio is from different vendor, right? By the way.
Yes.
So, but let's suppose now this is a scenario that where you have a radio from one vendor, another radio from different vendor, but operator is same. Let's suppose, right? Of course, it will happen in future. You will see. Why I'm saying this, because recently there's a news that now BSNL is now asking Ericsson and ZTE that can you make our radios, which is I think Tejas, right, for the 4G, can you make some compatibility with 2G and 3G as well? So these are two different vendors, right? Three different vendors by one operator. So in future you will see more, because why? Because why I'm saying this more, because this is a standard splits, for example, 7.2 splits, or so that you will, the idea of Open RAN is to include more and more radio vendors, and then you have a different L1 players, different L2, L3 players, right?
Right.
So in this way, we can design some kind of environment. Let's say, for example, you have one operator and different radio vendors and different L1 on based on different radios, and then L2, L3, let's say different. So very much vendor means no vendor lock-in, nothing, right? COTS hardware and everything is open. So in this scenario, the only problem is how I should trust a different. So because once we talk about SLA and once we talk about KPI and all these things, everyone say, okay, this is your problem, and this happens all the time, especially in telcos. And considering this, I'm not talking about CDRs as well, because CDR itself is a big problem for in roaming and all these problems.
Yes.
It's a big problem. So this problem will be bigger more, right? CDR problem or SLA problem will become more and more once you have more vendors involved. So currently vendors are very much in, let's say, what radio from one vendor, max to max, L1, L2, L3 is from one vendor. But now once you open up this network, then there will be more trust issues, more SLA issues, more CDR issues. So will come up, right? We have these issues currently as well, but in future you will see these issues more. So that is why, let's suppose if you have a different radio units and different DUs or whatever. So in DU pool, what we do is we collect all these DU stuff at one place, and there's a on an edge. So this is I also wrote a paper in 2020. I think it's published in IEEE transaction as well, regarding how you can manage edge orchestrators, right? So there's a paper I wrote, a blockchain defined multi-domain edge orchestrator. So edge orchestrator is very interesting. Why? Because because ultimately it all happens on the edge, right? At last. So if you have a edge orchestrator, edge as an entity, and edge is, let's say, you are running a CU software from different vendors, and CU pool is there. So if I run a blockchain on that local domain, right? If I call this as a domain, and once you have this domain at one place, and this is a local blockchain running on this as an orchestrator on one area, and then this local blockchain can talk to, let's say, one main blockchain, which is a consortium of different vendors or different operators. So in this case, what we can do is we can reduce the trust. I mean, there will be no trust issues. Why? Because we are managing everything at the local, at edge level as well as, and then again to the consortium things. So whatever SLA breach will happen, whatever CDR issues will happen, that can be solved by smart contracts. And that's why these orchestrator especially will play a very important role in terms of developing a consortium and things. So this is like just a 1 or 2, 3 use case. We have published solution briefs as well with Linux Foundation Networking and Linux Foundation Edge as well. That how you can manage SLAs, CDRs on blockchain, and how you can solve all these issues. And recently, I think in this week, we are also publishing one paper, which is again very interesting, which is called Telecom Decentralized Identity Network, which is a very interesting concept, because I don't know whether you know, there's a concept called CEIR in India as well. If you're, let's suppose, if you're someone, if you, let's say, something happened to your mobile, right? Either you forget somewhere or something happened, right? So generally, you launch a FIR and you do all these activities, but you never get, right? Or someone can use this phone for some malicious activity. So Indian government also started this CEIR concept, which is from GSMA, by the way. So which says that maintain a registry in which you can push your blacklist things and things like this IMEI now blocked, and then there's a central registry from let's say DOT in India. And then this is like a local database kind of thing for GSMA, because everything is coming from there only. And then GSMA can also populate this kind of local sovereign country data to other countries. If you can use this mobile internationally, then they can also control this kind of things. So, but this is a because again, trust issues, right? And government data and a lot of things. So this is also, we introduce a concept which is called Telecom Decentralized Identity Network, in which, let's suppose in Web3, especially, you have decentralized identities, right? No one knows your identity, but yes, they can verify that, yes, it is you, right? By either zero knowledge proofs or whatever. So that's what we are writing currently. And I think this week we are also publishing one solution brief that how these telecom players can use these decentralized identity networks to block your unwanted calls. Because every time, once you go to any vendor, they will ask your name and your phone number, and then they will sell it to somewhere. And these are very messy networks, right? And this is a very big problem as well. So that is through these kind of networks, you can block all these things as well, because no one knows your name, your identity. You are just dealing with a decentralized identity kind of network. So this is easy for managing a lot of other use cases as well, not only solving telecom issues, but you can also solve your customer issues. So telecom blockchain can play a role in between telco and user as well, not only telco players.
And the relationship between the telco and the user and the role that blockchain can play in that context is, I would say, somewhat intuitive and easy to visualize, if I were to put it that way. But I have a lot of questions related to the part that you mentioned about, the blockchain doing the work at the edge, then at the center. My fundamental point is how much of overhead does this blockchain or hyperledger based authentication add to the network? Because that's a major deal in RAN. They're all very impervious to any change, because they are scared that their performance will take a hit. So what are your observations on that?
This is true. Performance, I agree. The reason is, then we have to understand more, right? For example, once we talk about performance, because this is a consortium network, right? This is not, first of all, a public blockchain or kind of network, right? Within the telecom, it's easy. performance will not be that much affected. Why I'm saying this? Because of course it's a consortium. You're not dealing with the public. The idea is not to make it more decentralized. The idea is to make it more centralized, but with trust. So once we see blockchain, it should say that it should be decentralized. But once we come to the enterprise blockchain or consortium blockchain, idea is to make it more centralized, but with trust. So once you are not decentralizing your network, then the cost will not affect for sure. Means the whole cost in blockchain is of to making more decentralized, right? That is why Ethereum also shifted their consensus mechanism to proof of stakes. The reason is so that they can reduce the gas fees, right? So once you are making centralized and within the telco, that's not the issue, much issues, right? Of course, there will be a cost involved, of course, but not a delay cost, right? Because you are managing a network, right? Which is not live in the sense that because you are using that network for particular things. For example, SLA breach, for example, for CDRs. So it's not live as such, right? And then you can settle all these things within 2 days or 3 days. Now, let's suppose compare to months or sometimes years. As such, in the live network, it will not affect much, right? Not at all. But of course, there will be a cost involved, which is managing this network. But although this is a central network, that's why cost will not like shoot up like a rocket, but it will be remain in control. But once the good thing is, but if you are making this use case for the users as well now, you are opening up the network, a separate network, let's say. We are not talking about telco network, blockchain, but a network where your users can also come in. And to make it more trustworthy, now you are adding public blockchain as well. So this kind of hybrid blockchain network might cost a little bit more in terms of latency. It can add latency for sure. But this kind of network is hard to believe right now because currently we are in the phase where telco first they should adopt more on the blockchain side, and then once they are comfortable with this, then they will release it to the public network as well. So that will be a hybrid blockchain, and that will might add some latency in the networks, but that's okay because that's the idea. Means trust what do you need, right, as a customer, to more trust or more latency or whatever, right? So this kind of hybrid network, it might add. That's my opinion, and this telco networks will not add much latency in the network for sure. Whether you are putting this on edge or on the central orchestrate or somewhere.
Okay. I'll give you a very specific scenario. So now we have this Open RAN, thought, which is in various stages of adoption, and there is an RIC where you have these XApps and RApps. Now consider a situation where there is a single telco network with a single RIC, say from Capgemini or anybody basically. And then you have these various XApps which are going to tune or tweak the network performance. Does the blockchain have or Hyperledger have any role to play in such a scenario? Because you have a sort of a vendor marketplace sitting on top of your RAN, which is trying to tweak the RAN performance. Have you visualized any such scenario, any such use case?
Yeah, so we visualize all these things in our sick calls that this can be a possibility, right? So especially in ORN, if you see there, I forget about working group number. I think working group 2 or 3.
Okay, maybe.
So they have one use case on that how you can implement blockchain and things.
Okay.
Actually, we visualize that how we can use this working group, how we can work with this working group so that we can also push things. That's what we are working on. But parallelly, we are also working on, that's what you said, that there's a marketplace and things. So we have one interesting 2018 or 19, one of our member published a paper or talk, a talk in one summit, something in Linux Foundation stuff, which says that how you can use blockchain in ONAP, right? And if you see this, so because in OSC, if you go in OSC, which is Orange Software Open RAN Software Community or OSC. So OSC is by default taking ONAP as a SMO, right? So once you have a own app, and then you can visualize, okay, if I can push a blockchain in own app, which is SMO, and anyhow you are publishing all your accepts in SMO, which is the idea, right? And then how you can use this SMO things from, means of course there's a marketplace, then it's a very different thing, because SMO, let's suppose, is from one vendor or things, where your accepts can be published in a marketplace, and then, but this is, you have to send some information to your SMO as well, so that we can manage our local registry as well, because something happens, let's say some breach happens, then where should we go? So managing one thing at the top level, it's okay. That's what means. In the simple term, I can say this is a marketplace with a orchestrator blockchain where they are putting everything at one place, but they are also managing local blockchains as well. So that consensus can be achieved with different vendors. Like, for example, in that case, at edge, you have a different, let's say, RFs or things at the, or you can do what at edge also, you can manage a small blockchain. So there's a concept of blockchain as well, whether you are managing full node and what kind of nodes, right? So it is not needed that you should manage a full node at edge. You should not manage, because of course you need a hardware and things which we don't want at edge. And then not running a full node at edge, and then running a full node at SMO level, and then at the marketplace level. So this will add a trust, right? So that, of course, in the live network, there will be no latency. Why I'm saying again and again, because this is a separate network, right? Which calculate things, which stores things, and you can use these networks whenever you need it, right? For example, once in a week or twice in a week, or so, based on your use case, right? So some people always confuse that, okay, means it will add latency, it will add do this, it will do this. So don't use initially, means if you have some, as a telco operator, if you have some doubts or something, just put it, use it, and then you will realize that, okay, we are not using it in the real networks, right? We are just storing and then managing it for a particular use case for
Basically,
infringement
it
or
is not real time, it is offline, and
something.
it is polled, basically,
Yes,
regular intervals,
exactly.
and
Exactly.
verified. Okay, yeah, that I get that. We
And
are
this
running
is how adoption happens, right? Adoption cannot be pushed in,
yeah,
no telco operator will push it in the live network.
that's true.
No,
That's true.
right?
That is
So they should
because
test it with the separate things as a network, and then use it, then see the use cases better, then they visualize it, and then the adoption will happen, right?
true.
Yeah.
That's right. Vipin,
Yeah, yeah.
how is the response that you're getting from telcos on this?
So frankly speaking, so in MWC also, there are talks how you can integrate a blockchain from last 2019. I know that because I'm attending from 2019, and every year you will see that, okay, you can do this, you can do this. But adoption wise, I don't see much. As a telco operator, there is excitement for sure. And this excitement will increase. Why I'm saying this, once you're making, because see, once you have one vendor or two vendors, this is not the game of blockchain, right? They can manage a lot of things, right? If it is a one vendor game in the whole network, then why we need a blockchain at all, right? Because we don't need, where is the trust issue, right? There's no trust issue at all.
Right.
So, but once you are making these networks more open, more, so if you allow more vendors to come into this type of game, then you need a blockchain for sure. So you will see adoption after this 2024. In 2024 also, you will see some adoption. Till now, all operators are looking into this, that how you can work on it. And then some startups like Helium, right? Which is decentralized wireless, which is again a very interesting concept, right? Now there's a concept called DSIM, right? Which is decentralized SIM. So you will see the different use cases around this 5G game, right? Because 5G opens a lot of things, right? For example, how you can replace a whole Wi-Fi to the private, means a private 5G network from different vendors. In the private 5G game also, right now, there's only one vendor involved, but in future, you will see different vendors can play around it, because depend on the use cases. So this is my again assumption that, but as a SIG, in the SIG itself, we saw a lot of adoption from Deutsche Telecom, from AT&T. There are many telco operators come and go. They understand from the Ericsson as well. Many people came, but they also trying to see that how we can add this value in our telecom domain. So the idea here is from SIG side, what we do is we add we release solution briefs with communities, with telco operators. I think we started with IBM, so IBM has some use cases that how we implemented our blockchain in many with many telco operators. So this is how it started, and then we released many solution briefs over it.
Okay, great. So this will be just be a starting point for our discussion, and
Sure.
I'll have a lot of follow-up questions, and I hope you don't mind my asking them.
Happy to
Because
answer.
because there are several points of intersection in the areas that we are
Yes.
working on. One is definitely 5G and Open RAN. Second is, of course, I did not touch upon that, but I'm sure there is a lot of intersection there also. In the areas of AI and ML, how does
That's
blockchain
true.
benefit from that? So if we
That's
start
true.
talking about that, probably it will last another
Yeah.
hour or so. So
Yeah.
maybe we'll take that up
Yeah.
later. Yeah.
For sure. In the next call, if we can have a dedicated session on AI, ML, and blockchain and
Sure,
telcos.
sure. Then I'll send you
Because
a calendar
let me tell
invite.
you, in 6G, you will see all these use cases, right? This is my opinion again.
Yes.
AI, ML, blockchain, and again, things like AR. You had a lot of things, but there are some key players in this game. AI, ML, blockchain will play a very important because again, more
Right.
vendor will bring and more software you will bring. Then this will create a lot of chaos in the system,
True.
and that can be managed through blockchain or a
Yeah.
lot of other things.
Right. Right, Vipin. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. I
Thank
will,
you.
I will follow up on this, and I'll be in touch. And all the
Thanks.
best, and congratulations for your patent on MDSO.
Thank you. Yeah.
It was
Thank you
very
so much.
interesting reading about that, and
Yeah.
sometimes it is also intuitive. I mean, you just think that sometimes things are hiding in plain sight, like
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
this is how didn't anyone think about it first? So that is that
And
day
I, I,
one.
I I wrote this in 2018.
Yeah, that was great. I mean, very
Yeah.
nice to see that
Yeah.
you're working on that.
So by the way, that came from the Deutsche Telecoms. I was working as a consultant for them, and there was a on the network slices how you can. So I was working on network slices, and then I thought network slices with different vendors, you will be gone, man. No,
Yes,
how
yes,
you
yes.
manage. Then that's I realized that I've just add blockchain. And by the way, I also recently I got a patent on other one which is called hybrid post-quantum encryption on decentralized identity networks, which is again
Okay.
very interesting. Why I'm saying because again you will add QRNG and post-quantum encryptions in 5G as well. For example, your SUPI to SUKI, right? This is 5G is for the authentication. And if you can do this instead of elliptic curves through post-quantum encryptions, that's really a game changer in future, of course, not
Okay.
now. Yeah.
Okay. If you don't mind sharing the data on that,
Yeah,
I will definitely like to take a look on it.
sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Look at that. Right, Vipin.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a great week ahead, and we'll keep in touch. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Bye. Take care.
Bye.